Hey everybody, it's Chris from Beer Bearings. This afternoon I'm here with Alex Flores, who's the head brewer at Urban South Brewery, which is about 7/10 of a mile from my door here. We're trying to do some virtual porch sitting. Alex, I think, lives on a busy street, so he decided to come in the house where you could actually hear him talk. I'm still in my backyard where you normally see me. So Alex, thanks for joining me this afternoon. I want to start, first of all, by just having you introduce yourself a little more fully, tell everybody what you do in the beer world right now, and we'll get to your history a little bit too.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm the head brewer for Urban South Brewery in New Orleans. We just had our 4th anniversary, although we've had to do it a little bit of virtual reality, unfortunately. We were able to release a lot of really fun beers, so that's been a good time and given us a lot of content and interaction with the community, even though it's on a much different scale than we're used to. Excited to crack open a new beer that we haven't released yet with Chris. And
yeah, so go ahead and grab yours. Tell everybody what you've got. I'll get mine ready while you're doing that.
Yeah, so this is actually a beer, and it's very relatable to what we're going to be talking about today, but it's called Wiped Out. Kind of a toilet paper-esque background, kind of a play on all the crazy lack of toilet paper in the city, but it's a double IPA. Brewed it with Citra and Comet in the kettle. So it's got like a nice big grapefruit and orange character. And then dry hopped it with Nelson and some more Citra. So it's got a nice piney, exotic, tropical flavor, a lot of grapefruit and orange. So I actually haven't had it yet. Besides,
so you're going to taste it live for me this afternoon?
Fermentation, yeah. So I'm excited to finally crack into one.
Cool. So I picked one of yours too. I picked an Urban South beer. It's Jasmine Flower Saison with Grains of Paradise, which is really
that was
nicely. It's my last one, actually.
There you go. Well, I can get you some more.
I'm sacrificing my last one of these. I want everybody to see how beautifully that pours.
It's lovely.
Nice head on that.
Yeah, that I'd been wanting to make a really nice floral saison for a while, so it was nice to be able to put that together for the anniversary. I always try to think of when you're building a beer, you need the base beer is going to give you everything you need, but how can you elevate what the base beer is already given to you? So when you have the phenols or pepper notes of a Belgian style beer, and then you add these other ingredients like a Grains of Paradise, there is some floral on the yeast strain from the saison already. So then Jasmine just elevates that even further. So you kind of play into your hand and just build on that. But
all about balance. I love a good balanced beer, and that's to me that's the best thing that I can ever say about any beer. It's really well balanced. You're obviously you're a pro. You've been doing this for a while. I know you got your start in San Diego, at least as a pro anyway, and you're educated too. So tell the folks a little bit about your history, a little bit how you got to be where you are. You're from Louisiana, I know, but you made your way out to San Diego.
Yeah, I was born and raised in New Orleans, and I wanted to work in the beer industry. It was something I, homebrewing through college with some friends. It had always been a passion. I was trying to find a way into the beer industry, so I took the jump and moved out to San Diego, where at that point there was 45 breweries, and when I left about 6 years later, there was 150 active brew houses. So it's I worked for a small little 3-barrel brew house, Manzanita Brewing. Just these 2 guys that were working in the tech industry, and they loved beer, and they decided just to throw their life savings at this little 3-barrel brew pub, and they kind of gave me an opportunity to brew and clean, and I was actually just volunteering. There was some, I was looking to finally get paid, and they weren't able to financially support that, so I was putting some resumes all over town, and I started working for a brewery called Mission Brewery, which is still around. They actually opened in 2009, same as NOLA, and they're still rocking out in San Diego. But yeah, I worked there until I moved back home in 2015, and making some good beers, and definitely learned a lot. I mean, at that point, West Coast IPA was the IPA style.
Right.
To date my career, but they taught me a lot, gave me a lot of opportunity, and I was able to start labeling bottles there all the way up to senior brewer. So it was a good ride. We had a good time.
So the 4th anniversary party would have been this past Saturday, April 4th, 2020. I'm going to give the year just in case people are watching this in the far future somewhere. And we're in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic, which is the reason that I'm making these videos. I really wanted to talk to people about how COVID has affected them and all of that. And you're in an interesting spot in the industry. Can you talk just for a couple of minutes about how once things started to really change and it started to look like maybe tap rooms might be closing or events would have to be canceled. Can you talk about some of the decisions that you guys made early on?
Working with Jacob and Kyle, our founders and owners, operations, they really took the lead to get ahead of it, kind of start shutting our tap room down, doing the appropriate thing. Kind of the first big fear for us was, we have all this outstanding beer in kegs and cans. What's going to happen? Our distributors being shut down. So, kind of our first plan of action was to get in touch with all of our distributors, see what's going on, because that is a big lifeline for us at this point in our fourth year. I mean, we sell a lot of draft beer, a lot of canned beer out to the market. So we were curious, are alcohol sales being shut down? Are distributors being shut down? What exactly is the extent of everything at this point? We knew tap rooms were going to be shut down, so we were kind of bracing for that. As tap rooms are, a huge lifeline for breweries. I mean, that's kind of a lot of breweries couldn't make it without a tap room. The revenue there is enormous. And it's also a great way to meet people, move product, and definitely, engage our community. Without a community, without fans, a brewery is kind of pointless. So,
right.
We were kind of freaking out about that, but it is what it is. Everyone's suffering from the same thing. But we're able to get in touch with distributors. We realized they're staying open. We quickly shifted we stopped kegging all beer, moved all to cans. So we're emptying all tanks and cans. We're actually, some of our anniversary beers that we had kegged for the draft party, which would have been April 4th. We're actually pushing that back into the tanks and canning that just because that beer was going to go to waste.
You all were gearing up for a 4th anniversary party and you couldn't have it all of a sudden. So I know you've been doing some innovative stuff around that. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So our 4th anniversary was on April 4th, 2020. And we were really excited. We had 17 new beers. We had a couple old ones we were going to bring back from last year, a couple cellar releases from the barrel program. So we had some really nice things lined up, but this pandemic has happened and kind of threw us off a little bit. But so we decided to do, actually Abby, our New Orleans main sales, she had this great idea of still engaging with community, still talking about the beers that we were going to release via Instagram Live. So I just did my 5th episode going Instagram Live. We're calling it Quarantine and Alex Q&A. Essentially, I'm talking about some new beers each week. We started with some IPAs. We also had some guests. We had Mark from San Diego, Coronado Brewing. We talked about the red currant vanilla bean sour that we did. And then last night I actually got to talk with Reed from Perfect Plain out in Pensacola. We did a Bushwhacker Berliner Weiss. So it's been really fun. It's been really engaging. I think people are really, especially on the weekends, I'm getting a lot of questions. I talked for almost an hour the other day, most of it answering questions to fans of ours.
I see a lot of breweries trying to do what we're doing right now, getting on virtually and talking about stuff and doing it on Instagram Live. I don't think we're going back, so you may have to get used to sitting in front of a camera and talking to people as you all go forward, for sure.
Yeah, I was joking with my wife that starting to finally get used to doing these video calls. It was a little awkward at first, especially Instagram, because you don't hear anybody. No one's talking about it. It's all font. So I'm reading, and there's a lot of awkward silence, and I've had to get used to keeping the narrative going. So it's been interesting. It's been fun though. I think people are getting a lot out of it, and it seems people enjoy it. So we'll keep doing it as long as we can.
Another thing I wanted to talk to you about, again, since you're kind of uniquely positioned to know about this stuff, what about suppliers? What about raw materials? Things like malt and hops. I know hops are, contracted years in advance and you've had a pretty good supply built up, but things like malt you need on a pretty consistent basis. Tell me a little bit about some of that stuff.
Yeah, so raw materials, like you said, as a production brewery, you always have a little bit on deck, just because that's, you never know what production schedules are going to change. So, we always have a little bit of malt on hand. We always have plenty of hop on hand. Fortunately with hops, they're harvested at a different time. So that's as easy as just getting a truck. And as long as trucks, which we've been fortunate that, most commerce in the States has not been that drastically affected. We've been able to get our hops, and malt hasn't been an issue quite yet. And on the same hand, our production is severely slowed, so wouldn't die, but it would hurt us if we couldn't get those things, but we've been fortunate so far. And then, things like isopropyl, which is, something that we use for spot sanitation. When you're going to hook up something to a tank, you might spray out your valve with isopropyl, give it a good scrub, and then you can connect your hose. And, things like that you take for granted, because before, our owner was going to Costco and getting, isopropyl, and we're using it in the brewery. Now, you can't find isopropyl anywhere in the city. So it's been pretty interesting. We actually, luckily, decided to order from Sam's Club about a month before. We got about a 2-month supply. This was before really COVID really hit the city, because he was only able to get like 2 or 3 cases at Costco.
Yeah.
So we're like, well, let's just order, 5, 50 cases, bring them in, and that way we'll have it for a few months. It's something we use and use every day. And it's been interesting trying to get supplies, things like that. You don't really consider to go missing, and now everyone's buying up all the ice.
Well, and I would think gloves too, right? You guys use a whole lot of gloves, and
a whole lot of gloves. Gloves have been that was something we go through a company called Uline, uline.com, and they are actually only selling items to existing customers, and only if you've ordered that item before. So something like isopropyl that we've never ordered through them, they will not sell to us, but they will sell us gloves and things like that we've ordered. We were looking for masks. We use a lot of we use the N95s for grain handling. We actually donated a bunch to Oshner because they were running low. So we donated some, made sure each one of my guys had one, and then we donated the rest. So we sent about 30 over to them, but things like that, we just had a box sitting on the shelf for, when we're handling with grain dust and things like that. And now they're all gone. So it's something that you kind of take for granted. It's just sitting up on a shelf, but, saving someone's life down the line.
Those are the things you don't think about, but if you don't have those things, you can't operate, or you can't operate as effectively. So it's interesting.
That's definitely effectively is the best word to put that, because it's just things you get used to having, and then you're having to do some other sort of process to, go about your day, and it just complicates things. You get used to a way, but if craft brewers know anything, they know how to be crafty and make something work, So
it's in the name, right? It's in the name of the industry.
It is
craft beer,
yeah. We'll find a way. And I was getting a lot of my brewers asking me, like, so what's going to happen? What are we going to do? What are the hours looking like? What are we going to do with this and that? And I don't know. And there's no manual for this. You can go to Siebel in Chicago for brewing school. There's not a class on when a pandemic strikes, here's what to do, so there's no how-to manual on something like this. We're trying to turn a corner. We're producing hand sanitizer and just trying to find other outlets to keep people working mostly.
You mentioned that you were doing hand sanitizer. Can you talk about that a little bit too?
Yeah, so we actually had a few local hospitals reach out. Oshner was one. They were obviously low on supplies. There's a company down in near Lafayette and New Iberia that was making bulk, 300-gallon totes of hand sanitizer. So they were calling around to see if people would package it for them into bottles. So we're able to kind of get a connection through that. And now we're going into 8-ounce bottles with this hand sanitizer and distributing it. So we're selling to some hospitals and just some other local places. But we just started yesterday on Monday evening, and it's been pretty wild. We're actually filling it out of our gravity bottle filler that I was doing all of our barrel-aged beers on. So we bought a second filler and we're rolling on that. So it's been quite the scene, but it's happening. We're getting them filled, and I think we did about 3,000 in the past 2 days.
You talked about we're going to continue to do more virtual things, even if we do get back to normal operations, whatever normal is going to look like. What else do you think the future holds for craft? If anything, any big changes out of this?
No, I was actually reading an article today from this person hoping that more breweries do beer deliveries. I know California's delivering a lot of beer straight to people's doorsteps, and I think we'll see more of that. I think we're going to see a lot more delivery. You know, as you've seen in Urban South Tap Room on a Saturday,
Yeah.
It's mayhem to say the least.
Mayhem is the right word. Yeah.
I'm curious to see what that looks like in 6 months from now. And New Orleans is such a unique city in the way that we live. I mean, our houses are a foot away from each other, and you know, we stay on top of each other. You know, you talk to your neighbor in the grocery line. You can't walk past someone on the street without stopping and having a 5-minute conversation. So I don't see New Orleans changing, but I could see people tiptoeing back into the water maybe.
All right, Alex, I appreciate you being with me today. This again is Beer Bearings, and I'm Chris. Really appreciate it. If you like this kind of content and want to see more, if you'd like and subscribe to the videos, and look forward to talking to you soon. Take care of yourself.
Thanks, man. Cheers.
Thanks for joining me for my chat with Alex. We got a pretty wide-ranging look at what one local craft brewery is doing in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, all the way from changes in their distribution strategy and sales strategy through holding a virtual anniversary party and even packaging hand sanitizer for local use around the New Orleans area. If you like this content, please like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the content that I've got coming up, and always drink better beer. I'll see you next time.